Back it off. That's okay. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I'm Jim Dwyer, president of St. Cloud Rotary this year, and I'd like to welcome all of our visiting Rotarians from the 3 other clubs in the area, plus all of our guests today. Please stay and finish eating a little bit. We have a little game we play at the beginning of each one called Which Rotarian Is This Anyway? But before we get Mark stepping up here, I want to do a quick welcome. We say it's the best place to be on a Tuesday in St. Cloud, but Drew Hultgren. Drew, stand up for a second. Drew's our president-elect. If you were in Bangkok, Thailand, like you were last week, what would be the best place?
Well, I can't remember the names of the restaurants, but there were a couple places that had food that would almost rival the Radisson.
Drew, that would almost rival the Radisson. Let's welcome him back from the Rotary International Convention, where 35,000 Rotarians met last week. And now let's have Stephen Freeman come up and play Which Rotarian Is This Anyway? You listen to the questions and the answers, and you try to guess it. And the first one to guess which Rotarian it is should get from Alan Herbst 1 extra ticket to the 50-50 as to the drawing.
Thank you, President Jim. This Rotarian attended Central and West Side High School. This Rotarian's first car was a Pontiac. Don't know what year. No? This Rotarian's worst job was unloading boxcars of charcoal at a wholesale hardware warehouse. This Rotarian's favorite hobby is golf. I heard Steve Laraway, I think. That's correct. John Furmenius. Okay, here's the rest of them real quickly. This Rotarian, we won't hold this against him, but he's an undergrad of the University of Nebraska. This Rotarian has traveled on 2 continents, 4 + 1 children and 6 grandchildren. He is retired, question mark. Is that what you call it? And that's it. John Furmenius.
Okay, folks, if you will all stand up and shake hands with people around you for a minute. Just say hello. Say hello. You don't know each other.
Hey, George. Hey, good to see ya. Tori, how's it going? Hey, nice to see you. Good to see ya. Already turned your call after that. George, how are you? Good to see you again. Good to see you. We'll give away some of your money tomorrow night at Tech again like usual.
I'm going to be there.
Good, I'll see you there.
Yeah, right.
I'll be there.
The 4-way desk.
Yeah, I know.
It's on the wall over here. It's on the back of the blue book on your table. The 4-way test that Rotarians say at each meeting. Of the things that we think, say, and do. Is it the truth?
Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? And will it be beneficial to all concerned?
And our own Len Carlson's going to lead us in a song. Where's the flag is right here.
We're going to sing God Bless America. God
bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with the light from above. From the mountains to the prairies, to the oceans white with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, my home, sweet home.
And just stay standing for Doug Holzkamp to give an invocation here.
Let's pray. Dear Heavenly Father, you truly bless us with a beautiful day, with marvelous opportunities, with freedoms that we have. Lord, we live in the greatest country in the world. We just pray that we will ever be mindful of the blessings that have been bestowed upon us. Help us to serve and help us to pray for others, especially the leaders of our country, of our state, of our city. We just ask that you guide us as Rotarians, that we may serve you in all that we do. We thank you for this food. We thank you again for this day. We thank you for the opportunities of fellowship, and pray all this in your holy name. Amen.
Amen. All right, please be seated, and thank you, Doug. And while you're sitting, I'll just say, Mike Sullivan, it was fun to hear your nice tenor voice coming across over there in that song. good to have that over there. I like that. Mike's in Granite. We're going to have a little bit shorter version of our usual meeting today to give Coach Gary still a little more time. But we still have some business to take care of. So first off, our greeter was Alan Hurst back there. Alan, want to wave and say hello? So thank you, Alan. Also to Chris Davis and Diane Kroska. Yep, who's helping, that's right, and wherever they are, it's hard to see in the crowd. But they also helped with the greeting, so let's give them a round of thanks for their assistance too. Now, when you look around, there's a number of Rotarians from different clubs here. This is the annual meeting of all 4 clubs, and we thought that would be kind of fun to bring everyone here to hear one of our major voices in the state of Minnesota right now. So let's start by introducing the club presidents who are here from the different Rotaries. First, from Granite Rotary, Mark DeVore. Mark, you want to stand up? And all his Rotarians, please stand up for Granite. I noticed I told him to sit with somebody else. I tell you. And then from Great River, which is across the river in Sauk Rapids, we have Dan Heiberg. Dan, if you'll stand, and then his Rotarians too. And from the great city of Sartell, we have the incoming president, Steve Lean. Steve, if you'll stand up, Steve Lean, and the Rotarians from Sartell. Well, there you go. Anyway, welcome to you all. We hope you enjoyed being here, and we're happy to have the other clubs join us for this, and we look forward to coming to your clubs in the next years again. Now, Wayne Schluchter, will you introduce the coaches at the head table, please? Or wherever they are.
President Dwyer, it is my pleasure. Oh, very good. Wow, it's a big chair. President Dwyer, it is my pleasure to introduce to you some special guests here today. First, on my left is Michelle Brown. Michelle Brown plays for Minnesota's other professional football team, which is the Minnesota Vixens. So, Michelle, welcome. We have another special guest, non-coach at the moment, Mr. Jim Henry. Jim Henry played running back for the Gophers in 1969-73. He's a Cathedral graduate, and he was a high school All-American a few years back. He was also selected as Cathedral's best football player in time. So, Jim Henry, welcome. And with that, it is, again, my pleasure to introduce some of our coaches from the local area. And we'll go by team, and if you'd hold your applause till we can applause for a school, that would be terrific. One thing I'd like to share with you is, you know, we're here, we're going to hear about football, and I know Coach Kill will talk about, you know, building young men into great individuals, and there's something in the Gopher program now that you'll see put W's on the scoreboard in years to come. But understand that the coaches that are sitting around the 2 head tables here, there are 750 to 1,000, depending on whether you want to count it 9 through 12 or if you want to go 7 through 12. 750 to 1,000 young men who are in these various programs around our community. And I can tell you for a fact that in every one of these programs, at St. Cloud Tech, we call it Building Championship People Through the Game of Football. There's a great book called, I can't remember it at the moment, but hey, proving once again that those suspension helmets didn't work all right. Season of Life. But it talks about building men for others. And so each one of these programs is working on developing young men into championship people. And they all have their different ways that they say it, but it comes with discipline, it comes with love. And so know that every fall and throughout the year, that there's a big impact being made by these guys who draw X's and O's and do a lot of things that are football related, but they do things that are life related, and that's true in all these programs. Now, since I introduced Jim Henry, I think Coach Taylor, Coach Dean Taylor, our head coach at St. Cloud Cathedral, and his lovely wife, Kathy, who is the only supportive wife I see of all the coaches. Kathy, stand up, please. Coach Taylor, stand up, please. And then assistant coach and local Rotary Club member, Andy O.J., St. Cloud Cathedral football.
You say supportive, I say controlling.
Oh! Excellent. 6 points, Coach Taylor. Mrs. Taylor with the ball.
Pass it over here.
From Rotary, and the only head coach that I know has a state championship under his belt from the 2011 season, but you know, that was last year. What are you guys going to do this year? Yeah. Head coach, Rotary football, Mike Rowe. Mike. And congratulations, that was a great state championship to bring back to central Minnesota. From Apollo High School, head coach Justin Scallerud on my right, and the activities director Chris McElroy on my left, St. Cloud Apollo. Immediately in front of me, head coach of St. Cloud Tech, Greg Mardig. One of his assistants to my left, Brad Wheelock. Stay standing, Coach Martin. We're going to go ahead and show you off a little bit. And then yours truly from St. Cloud's Tech as an assistant coach. Additionally, we have our local colleges represented. And on my right, slightly to my left and far left, are St. Cloud State coaches, Mr. Scott Underwood on my right. Please stand up, Scott. Defensive coordinator Jim Lewis. And outside linebacker, Coach Zach Lundquist, St. Cloud State University. And I'm going to do a little reverse order here, because why wouldn't you have some fun when John Ghilardi doesn't have the mic? So, from the St. John's University coaching staff, I'd like to introduce two assistants, and then I'd like to introduce their head coach. On my left, Gary Fashing, defensive coordinator. And I thought Jim was, oh, there you are, Jim. And Jim Ghilardi, offensive coordinator, St. John's University. Please welcome them. And he who is last shall be first. John Ghilardi was the first active coach to be inducted into the College Football Hall of Fame. As you all know, he is the head coach at St. John's. He's been there for 59 seasons, I believe, Coach, is what the records say. He's been coaching for 64 seasons. He has a cumulative winning record of call it 78%, if you'll forgive the 1/10 rounding error. He was also nominated to the American Football Coaches Association Amos Alonzo Stagg Award recipient, a guy that we all know locally here has done a great job with many kids over the years, Mr. John Ghilardi.
Don't you just hate those old football injuries coming back for you? Okay, Alan Herbst has 2 tickets. You take out those little blue tickets we nicked you for $1. Take them out there. Oh, are they blue? Oh, they're pink now. Oh, well, so is my memory.
First winner is 777175.
175. Whoa! There he has it over here.
And the second winner is 777183.
Right here. 183. Oh, we got it over there. Oh, we're good. Okay, thank you, Alan, for handling that. Okay, a couple of announcements that are not just for the club, but for the whole community. One, Diane Kroska. Diane, where are you? There you are. Come on up. Well, let's see what you have to say about who wants to guess.
Yeah.
Okay, you guys are tired of me. I can quit and move on to something else. You've got some more orange. Do you know we have only 3 weeks until our first concert? 3 weeks. It's coming quick. We've got a lot of people putting a lot of work into it already. Summertime by George. Okay, I told him. But for our club members, there's the orange sign-up sheets for volunteers. I need to start getting the schedule done for the first few weeks. I've got about 70% of you have responded, so please, please fill one out. Leave it on your table. I'll pick it up afterwards today. After today, I will start bugging you. And I'm kind of anal that way, so you will be hearing from me. So please, just fill it out, leave it on the table, and I'll get it later. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Diane. And now something else that has effect for the whole area, in fact, the whole state. If I can get to now Kendall and Sergeant Ellery, and who is the other one? Come on up for a minute. It has something to do with the Summertime by George, and it has something to do with the refurbishing of Lake George. For those of you who are not familiar, our club just spent a lot of time refurbishing it, and now has Summertime by George. So turn over to Janelle.
And that has also brought in the international, basically, cop Olympics. That's what's coming. We have thousands of cops coming to town, and our Rotary has helped with sponsoring some of this, and Sergeant Ellering, and she'll introduce her cohort there, are going to ask us for some more help.
Thanks, Janelle. Sorry, I'm a little shorter. This is Randy Giles. He's the sports director for the Can-Am Games, and he's with the fire department. And I'm Sergeant Lori Ellering with the St. Cloud Police Department. I do want to cover first how I got this black eye. I'd like to say it was something brave and daring, like wrestling with a suspect, or perhaps playing for the Vixen, but it was not. It's my over-rambunctious German short-haired pointer puppy. So, those of you who are not familiar with the Canadian American Police and Fire Games, as Janelle said, they're basically the Olympics for police and fire. They happen every other year, and they move all over the US and Canada. And St. Cloud put in a bid about 4 years ago with the city and members of the business community and police and fire community, and we got the bid to host the games here in St. Cloud. It's a huge event that's coming to town. It's going to benefit our businesses, our hotels, the community in general, and we need help. Lots and lots of help. One of the great things that we're going to be doing is hosting our triathlon right down at Lake George. And I have to say, I never knew I would experience this the way I experienced Lake George, but your group has really just taken that whole project on, and you've really made Lake George a place that we used to go to police calls for service to a place the police now take their lunch breaks. And you really have, and it's just been phenomenal. So thank you for doing that. We are hosting our triathlon right at Lake George. The whole event is going to be down at Lake George. We're hosting the opening ceremonies at Husky Stadium. We're hosting a lot of events at St. Cloud State. There are 50 different events, and they're at 36 different venues all across the central Minnesota region. So afterwards, Randy and I will be sticking around, have business cards with the website and stuff on it if you'd like to check it out and have more information. We'll also have volunteer registration forms that you can fill out if you're interested in volunteering. We need everything from volunteer officials, volunteer people to hand out water, volunteer people to score, volunteer people to help direct others and guests as they're coming in. We need volunteers at registration, opening ceremonies, merchandise sales, you name it, and we need help with volunteers. So what are the dates? The dates, thank you, June 24th to July 1st. It starts on June 24th with our opening ceremonies, and it ends July 1st. If you have any other questions, Randy and I will stick around after, and we also will have volunteer registration forms, so you can sign up right here today.
And tell them they actually swim.
Oh yes, they're actually going to swim in Lake George. So we're pretty excited about that. I'm not going to swim in Lake George. I'm not a triathlete, but I'm doing the biathlon myself, running and shooting. I figure I can handle that. So thank you guys very much.
Thank you, Sergeant Ellering, and thank you for your service and your colleague's service at Summertime by George, which is, for those who don't know, it's a concert every Wednesday night for 12 nights this year, about 15 last year. It's been great success. It's a community thing that works very well. And other Rotary clubs are welcome to be providing volunteers for the Can-Am Games, right, Dale? Right, yeah. So other ones you can feel you can sign up or have your club helping a little bit too. Anybody and everyone. And John, I think we're pretty much right on time, so I'm going to introduce John Frobenius, member here, to introduce our speaker. John, are you ready?
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, President Dreyer.
I'm shrinking.
Terry, that's another thing about getting old, it's a problem. Before I start the introduction, I want to comment on at least on a couple of folks that are guests of us today. One is Pat Spence from Little Falls. Pat is a past member of the Board of Regents, was a past chair of the Board of Regents, and glad to have you with us, Pat. We've also got several other people from the university, and I'll just sort of read off their names. Dan O'Brien, who's the Director of Football Operations, brought Coach Gill up to us today. Chad Kuno from the Alumni Association. James Slagle from the marketing side of the athletic department. And TJ, and I'm sorry TJ, I didn't catch your last name, so I apologize for that. That's an embarrassment on my part. But anyway, that's the folks from the university that are helping us with the event today. But it's really an honor and a privilege for me to introduce our speaker at today's joint Rotary meeting. After 9 years on the Board of Regents of the University of Minnesota, my thinking and understanding about the role of athletics in large universities has certainly evolved. Most questions I receive about the U of M from my friends and colleagues in this room and others are about elements of our athletic programs. The medical school is critical. The research programs are fantastic. But the next question is, what's new with the Gophers? Athletics are a critical connection for the university with the residents of our state. But our assignment at the U is not only to bring competitive, contending teams of athletes forward, but to assure that these young people develop the discipline, the skill, the maturity, and complete a college education in order to successfully compete in the world we live in, whether it's in athletics, business, healthcare, or whatever the field. Critical to this mission is our guest speaker today, University of Minnesota head football coach Jerry Kill. Coach Kill was named head coach of the University of Minnesota football program on December 7th, 2010. He came to Minnesota after spending 3 seasons as head coach at Northern Illinois University. Kill led the Huskies to 3 consecutive bowl games during his tenure. He also coached NIU to a berth in the Mid-America Conference Championship in 2010. Kill put together a 23-16 record in his 3 seasons with the Huskies. Prior to his time at Northern Illinois, Kill was in charge of the football program at Southern Illinois University, an FCS, formerly a Division I AA program in Carbondale, Illinois. His record over 5 seasons with Southern Illinois, over his final 5 seasons with Southern Illinois, was 50-14, and included 5 consecutive NCAA FCS playoff appearances. Before that, he was the head coach of 2 different NCAA Division II colleges, Emporia State in Kansas and Saginaw Valley State. In addition to winning in the field, though, Kill's tenure at Northern Illinois has also included achievements in the classroom. In his first 2 seasons at Northern Illinois, his team compiled the highest cumulative grade point averages in school history. In his first 2 seasons, 50 NIU student athletes earned their bachelor's degree, helping the Huskies rank among the top 3 teams in the MAC and graduation success rate. NIU's most recent academic progress rate of 975 ranked the Huskies 10th among NCAA Division I schools. That's a significant accomplishment. Among his recognitions, I took note of that in 2009, Kill was presented with the National Football Foundation Courage Award by the Chicago Metro chapter of the National Football Foundation and the College Football Hall of Fame. And particularly in 2010, he was named the National Coach of the Year by the Fellowship of Christian Athletes. Coach Kill is married to the former Rebecca Smith and has 2 daughters. The U of M, its president, and the Board of Regents are proud of Coach Kill, admire his style, his discipline, his work ethic, and management and people development skills. His first season is behind him and was finishing by retaining Floyd of Rosedale, who is here with us today, in the Iowa game, and a season-ending Big Ten win over Illinois. Even better things are ahead. We welcome Coach Jerry Kill to St. Cloud.
Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity to be here in your community and get a chance to visit with you. First of all, I want to thank the fellow coaches that are here. And, you know, we have, you know, probably in our country today, the most critical thing that's going on is taking care of our young people. They didn't grow up quite like I did, or maybe quite like you did. And there's so many things out there that they can go this direction or that direction. And I don't think there's a more critical time in our country to have great high school coaches and college coaches be an influence on their lives. I think it's the difference between saving our country in a lot of ways, and it certainly goes into the classroom and teaching high school football, and that's kind of how I grew up. I started out in this profession coaching high school football, and so it's a great profession. I congratulate you on the state championship, Coach. Those things are hard to come by. I was fortunate to win one of those, and I still remember all the excitement and what that means to the kids, and that just doesn't happen all the time. So certainly enjoy that, and you know, I look at around the room, and I certainly shouldn't be the one up here talking. As I look at John sitting there, and he doesn't remember this, but about 7 or 8 years ago, we were in an awards banquet, Coach of the Year banquet, and I was fortunate enough to get an award, and I sat down and did my little speech, and then John got up there, and he said, somebody said something about retirement, and I'll never forget it as long as I live. My wife sat down there, and he goes, why should I retire? And the only thing that will make me retire is the officials. Otherwise, I'll be around a long time. So you must still be handling those officials pretty good, Coach. So I need some pointers on that. So, you know, I got a chance. I was fortunate to you know, like I said, to be in the same room and see a guy that we got guys in here that have won a whole lot of football games, and John is, you know, it is what it is, what you hear about what he's done, and that's really a legacy that it's good for all of us here that are sitting here as coaches and people, and that's certainly what we will try to do as we build our program, and as a coach coming up through the ranks, that's what I will try to do. I certainly won't ever be able to do what Coach has done, but he's left a great kind of plan for the rest of us to try to follow. With that being said, is that I grew up, to get you to know a little bit about my background, and you'll try to figure out how I'm standing up here, but I grew up in a town of 2,000 people in the state of Kansas, and so there we go. And I grew up in a place called Cheney, Kansas. I grew up out in the country. I was driving a wheat truck when I was 14 years old. You know, my brother and I owned a hay monster when I was 16, and that's all I knew how to do was work, and none of our family had ever had the opportunity to go to college. And I figured out being up in that they always put me up in the hayloft, and the barn was about 110, and I figured out that I wanted to get out of work some way, somehow. So I said, I want to be the first one to go to college. So, you know, I talked to my high school coach, and I had the opportunity, and I kind of paid to play, and I wouldn't have done it any different. I went to a small NAIA school, which nobody in here will ever hear of. I don't even know if John would hear of it. That's the only one I could probably get into. But I went to Southwestern College in southwestern Kansas, an NAIA school. Was a great situation for me. I worked very hard, and I was, you know, back in that time, as I worked made donuts in the morning. I worked at an all-night grocery store, played football during the day for a guy named Dennis Franchione, and I met my wife there, and both of us came from similar backgrounds. Neither one of us had a whole lot of money. We got married, I was 21 and she's 19, and I can tell you we were still married, and it's 29 years, so it worked out pretty good. That little school did a lot for me and gave me opportunities that nobody else in my family ever received. I was just trying to get a college degree. I can't tell you I was made to be a football coach or anything like that. Coach Franchione said, hey, I can give you about $50 to help us out here in the spring, and I've been coaching ever since. And that's a true story. I needed a job and got married, and I started off coaching in Midwest City High School in Oklahoma. And I was fortunate enough, our starting quarterback's a guy named Mike Gundy. He's the head coach at Oklahoma State. So I'd like to tell you I was a good coach, but I walked into some awful good players. I then went from there to a place called Webb City High School, and again I thought I was a pretty good coach, and we were fortunate enough to go 25-1 in the 2 years I was there, and I got a chance to coach a guy named, I heard Nebraska's name come up, but Grant Winstrom, and played at the University of Nebraska. I thought I was a good coach. I just inherited more good players. So then I had the opportunity to get into college football. I was sitting over running study hall in the high school, and Coach Broyles asked me the opportunity to come over to Pittsburgh State University, a Division II school, and I went over there and was fortunate enough to coach at a place that has tremendous college football in a town of 20,000, and we were fortunate enough to win a national championship, and again surrounded by good players, and then just kept working, and things just kind of fell into place. I coached it as a head coach in a couple of places. Didn't know, like I said, just plugging along, and got a chance to go to Southern Illinois. The guy that took my place, I'm sure some of you are familiar with Coach Lennon, who's a fine football coach that took my place. I started there at Southern Illinois. We were able to rebuild a program and get it jump started, and then thought I was going to be there my whole life. I was diagnosed with cancer. We started a cancer fund there. Never thought I was fine, enjoying it. Got a call from Northern Illinois, and I said, maybe I'll try to give that a shot, see what happens. And we went there, and now all of a sudden I'm at the University of Minnesota. So I've just kind of plugged along. I've been very blessed. Again, I'm a cancer survivor. I've had a few things come up, but to be honest with you, it's the best thing that's ever happened to me. It probably put my life into perspective, and maybe I understood what was important. As Coach always says, Coach O'Brien, my right-hand guy, is don't let what you do define you, and so I think, I kind of got straightened out a little bit, and I think it's made me a better coach, better husband, certainly much closer to my faith. So, sometimes you take adversity. I believe that a lot of people said adversity builds character. I'm not sure I believe that. I think it defines character. I think you find out who you are through adversity. And so that kind of brings me into the point of talking about the university football program in Minnesota, is that's kind of where we're at. We've taken the job at the University of Minnesota. For whatever reason, I've been fortunate enough that all the head coaching stops that we've made, we've gone in and turned programs around. And probably, I think we're the third longest tenured staff in the country. I think Virginia Tech with Coach Beamer in Division I football, and Coach Pinknell at University of Missouri. Then I think it's us for the guys that have been together the longest. My strength coach is from Apple Valley, Minnesota, graduated from Carleton. Eric Klein's been with me for 21 years. But most of our guys are somewhere between 14 and 21 years. We've taken this journey together, and we've just kind of gone and rebuilt programs, and now we have the challenge to try to do something that has been a struggle. And I get reminded every day on the phone coming up, Coach, we haven't won in 45 years, we haven't been in the Rose Bowl, and all the way up to St. Cloud. So I get visited with every day about those good memories that we've got to get done. So, but the good thing about that is that I don't know if there's any special formula. Coaches, all these coaches here have been tremendously successful. You look at those programs, and it all is a kind of a common theme, is that you go in and you show your team a vision of where you want to go, and you have to show the administration where you want to go. And we certainly don't want to be average, and we don't want to be in the middle of the road. We want to be the best. Okay, so you show the administration the vision, and that's kind of what we've been doing over the first year. We have a new president that, before I signed a contract, I said, all I care about is that I want to know what's important to you. I know we're not the most important thing at the university, but we can be a positive front porch. And he said, Coach, he goes, I've got enough phone calls. We need to win, and we need to work together to get that done. I just met with our new AD today, visited with him, and I will tell you, I feel very good about how we're lined up. Now we got to do what my father always says. I hear what you're saying, but I'll trust what you do. We don't need to talk about what we're going to do. We need to get it done. And so there's a difference there, and that's a great saying. He passed 13 years ago, but I had that stuck in me all the time for all my life, is I hear what you're saying, I'll trust what you do. So we need to get going. We're working very hard at it. I think it all starts with doing the little things and the discipline and the structure of how you're going to run the program, how you're going to recruit, who you're going to recruit. We need to build a program that represents the state of Minnesota and represents who we are. And that doesn't happen overnight. and there's a lot of work to be done, but I do think we're structuring it the right way. I think the biggest example I can give you is when we took the job here about a year and 3 months ago, we had some issues academically, and we had some issues, in a lot of different areas. So we attacked those problems and said, let's don't talk about it, let's go in and fix them. And the best example I can give you is from an academic side, is that I just got our grades yesterday, so this could either be good news or bad news. But in our situation, when we got the job, our overall GPA was a 2.2. We had 23 people on academic probation, and we've got all kinds of APR issues, which we were the best, and we were one of the top 10 in the country at Northern Illinois where I left. I can proudly say today, we're certainly not out of the woods because the APR is a 4-year retention rate, and that could get us anyway. But I can only control what we control from here on out. Our semester last fall, which we struggled, and we got better as the year went on, but we were 3 and 9 last year. Our GPA was over 3.0. I'm very proud to say that we got our grades today, and we increased our GPA, went to 3.09. I've been coaching college football for a long time. We used to get excited about a 2.5 overall or a 2.55 because you're dealing with 110 players. But I think that tells you how far we've come from one area to the next, and we invested in that area, we focused in that area, we held our players accountable. You know, I set our starting corner down for 3 straight weeks, and nobody ever asked me what I was doing. I figured the media would catch on to that, but they didn't say a whole lot to me. But he wouldn't go to class, so since he didn't want to go to class, he got to go to class during football practice and on Saturdays while we played. And he eventually figured out, and the rest of the team, this is going to be important. You know, you're going to be accountable because you're here to get an education, also play college football. And truly, I may get fired on wins and losses, but I truly care about one thing. When they put me you know, they lay me down, there's no wins and losses on your tombstone. I firmly believe it's how you treat people and what happens to those kids after they graduate. And if you teach them all the things that Coach John's taught them throughout the years, the wins come. They come. If you have the structure in your program, you do what you're supposed to do, and you do it every day, and you're disciplined, you go to class, you're on time, you stay out of trouble off the field, you focus in on your school and what you're doing in football, have a social life that is correct, then you got a chance to be successful. But we had no chance when I first got there because we didn't do any of those things very well. It took a lot of adversity to try to figure out how to do those things well. We lost a player, which was a tragic thing, that played for us last year that passed away of enlarged heart in the dorm room where our players found him. It was a very difficult situation, but again, through a tremendous adversity situation, you know, somehow we found out about character, and it actually, Gary Tinsley brought us probably closer together and probably made me a better person. I don't think there's any question about that. So I think we've had an opportunity to grow over the last year. I can't sit here and make any promises. I do believe that we're better. I think we're getting better. Does that guarantee wins? No. You got to play on Saturday, and you have to get it done. We're in a transition period where we've taken the kids that we've come in and inherited, and we've had to make them believe in what we're doing, and that doesn't happen overnight. I mean, it took me, I don't have as good as control with my wife. I got to take some pointers, you know. My wife still got, you know, I've known her for 29 years. I still got to work at it, you know, a little bit. That's the kind of way we're coaching football. We're working at getting our kids' trust right now that have been in the program. So, because why would they? It's not their fault. Why would they trust anybody? I think our quarterbacks have had 5 different offensive coordinators. You know, they've had people go in and out of there from the academic situation to the coaches. This is the first time in a long time, I believe, at our university that they've had the same coaching staff, you know, through one whole year. So I think our kids are beginning to trust us, and now we're bringing in our first recruiting class is coming in this year because we got in so late on the first one. We honored all the scholarships. So this is truly our first recruiting class. We're bringing them in, and then we're trying to create that positive environment that will help you succeed. So that's kind of where we're at in our journey and in our program. We've had a lot of people come in. Our common theme for this year is we're going to be uncommon. We have to be uncommon. And that's, you know, if I'd recommend, there's several books and you can read out there on the mark. There's great ones. Tony Dungy, one of ours, who wrote the book Uncommon. I'd recommend it to any coach, any parent, any person. I think it's a great book. I had Tony come up and talk to our kids. I read that book chapter by chapter with our team at Northern Illinois when we turned that program around. So I think there's some values in those things. So we kind of took it upon our own is that we're going to be uncommon. And we are in the Big Ten. We're different than everybody else. You know, we said in the state of Minnesota, you know, we're the state school. We're in the Twin Cities. We have so many things that offer that some of the other schools don't. You know, yeah, Northwestern's got a little bit that in them, but they're sharing it with a whole lot of other people in that state. I coached at 2 other places there. You know, where we're at, you know, we're different, and we have to recruit different. We got to do some things different to be successful, but that's how we're going to do it. We're going to be uncommon. And I just told our players, you know, you're going to have to do more than the summer than everybody else is doing because we're behind. So, and you got to do it on your own. So you've got to understand if you want to win, you got to be uncommon. But I think if you're going to be a leader, you're going to be a good person in this day and age, you got to be a little bit different. And you got to be afraid to say, we're going to try to do it this way and this is what we're going to do. So we're excited about the direction we're going. We have a long way to go. You don't change 45 years of frustration overnight. We're going to do it the right way. We've done it the right way. My whole coaching career, I've been brought up that way. And we just got to keep recruiting and doing what these fine coaches have done down here and work together as a state. I will tell you that each and every one of you in here is much more important than I. We need all your support, and it's not about the money and all that kind of stuff. It's more about, hey, you know, we're excited for the Gophers, where they're moving the right direction and supporting us, and you certainly have done that. There's passionate fans in this state. There's great fans, great donors, great people. We just got to get a football team that reflects that. And we know we can, and we're going to work very, very hard to do that. So I appreciate, again, the opportunity to be here and be in your community. I welcome you to come to the university, and anytime you want to come by and watch practice, we'd love to have you. And, you know, we're glad that you're a part of our team. And we appreciate it very much. And I don't know what my time is. It's 5 till 1. You want to do a request? I know there's a lot of times you never get to ask the head coach something, and you can ask me anything. I've been asked a lot of things now since I've been here. I will tell you, my wife has told me we've lived a lot of different places. She loves the state of Minnesota, and she informed me that we better win because she's not leaving. And I've invested a lot of time in 29 years, so I'm going to try to make that work. So, with that, any questions? Yes, sir.
Coach, Wisconsin likes to line up all those farm kids averaging about 320 pounds on the line and just smash you guys. Where are you actually coming on development of your offensive and defensive lines?
Well, I think that if the people that, you know, before I got here, we played the University of Minnesota. I was at Northern Illinois, and we developed our kids there. You look, and I know Craig Bowles, a friend of mine at North Dakota State, and you look at what North Dakota State's done, you look at St. Cloud. I mean, you know, what do we need to do to be successful? Catch that. Number one is recruit. But you have to take right now, we have what we have. You know, it's like being a high school coach. Sometimes, you mean, you got the talents you got to make it work. So it all comes into the weight room. And who's your strength coaches? And when I first got the job, we had 2 strength coaches, and everybody else in the Big Ten had 5. So we got 5 now. I'm going to work on that. Okay? But we have to, academically, you can't take shortcuts, and we fixed that. And in the weight room, you can't take shortcuts. And you got to build some players in there. And then you got to recruit frames and body types like Wisconsin. We got a young man coming in from Blue Earth, 6'9", you know, 300 pounds. Then we got to get him to 335. We recruited a kid from Wayzata. He's 6'7.5", 280. We'll get him to 310. You know, our offensive line from a year ago you know, the Olsen brothers have all put on about 25 or 30 pounds, and they've been better. And so instead of playing at 270 in the Big Ten, now they're going to be at 300. So it's how you develop them. It's eating habits. It's nutrition. You know, kids don't take care of themselves the way they should. So it's our job to educate them. You say, Coach, how do you do that? Well, to get them out of bed, we have what we call nutrition, and we make everybody get out of bed by 8 o'clock. That way I know they're going to class, for one. And the other thing, I know they're eating. So, you know, it's just little things like that that you have to do to catch up to your opponent. And certainly Wisconsin, I played Wisconsin when I was at Northern Illinois. They're big, physical. They've done a good job of recruiting and taking care of what they need to. And, you know, we can't, you know, just like I think we did a good job last year keeping and for the most part, keeping the good players in the state. We got to continue to do that. It's not easy, but we got to continue to do that. And then we've got to build them in the weight room. And your strength coach is critical. But the great thing about him is he's been with me 21 years. And I believe, I would tell you, every coach in our staff would tell you, he's the reason we've won everywhere we've been. Because we've gotten bigger, stronger, and faster through our off-season conditioning.
3.09 is pretty impressive. Are they graduating?
Yeah, well, we graduated. Again, that's that APR thing, the academic progress rate, and you know, we've got probably 6 or 7 kids that are playing for us next year that already graduated, our quarterback included. They walked in the spring. Now, I'll tell you a little bit of thing about that is that you know, I would say in this class we're 100% in this last class is that kids want discipline. All they want you to do is care. And they want to know you're going to be there. You know, I mean, these guys, coach, there's a reason they've been. They just want to know you care and you're going to be there. Some of them have never had that before. And so I think they're starting to understand, even though we run a tight ship, we care. And we just want them to succeed. So, you know, we've done a good job. And Gary, to kind of give you, I want you to know about our university. You hear all kinds of things in the media. If this never comes out, I want you to know Gary Tinsley, the young man that passed away, and within 6 hours, you know, he had his college degree. He was like a month from finishing his degree. And our university granted him his degree. We flew his mom and dad up here just a week ago, and he's the first person in his family ever to get a college degree. But why I tell you that, I'm very proud to say I'm associated with the University of Minnesota for doing the right thing. And that was important to that family. So he was he made that class 100%. So that was a good thing. What other questions? Oh, this has been good. Yeah. Yes.
What is the Big Ten doing to help prevent concussive injuries?
The Big Ten and concussions, I think that, you know, the tough thing about that, the Big Ten's doing everything, and it all trickles down from the NFL to the Big Ten. I can tell you that coaching football is coaching football. I mean, I grew up coaching high school football. I'm no different coach than I was then. And you always teach safety in your programs, and you talk about keeping your head up and not leading with your head. But unfortunately, when, you know, it's kind of like going out and doing motocross, there's a risk when you do motocross. There's a risk. And when you play football, you know, I played it, you choose to do it, and there is a risk. But as a coach, you just got to make sure you coach good technique and good principles. And I can tell you, from us coaching and watching film, when we've got a young man that's had a concussion, these guys can answer it in a second. Most of the time, they do what with their head, man? They put their head down. They don't, if you see what you hit, you'll never get hurt. But when you duck that old head, that's when the concussion. So, you know, video, teaching, educating them, you know, it's a continuous process. It's like telling them about how to, you know, do the things off the field. It's constant education. So I think not only the Big Ten, but I think everybody in college football, our doctors come in and talk to them, our trainers, you know, back in the day, when you didn't have the headgear, you probably had less, I mean, had less injuries. But when you put the headgear on them, and you put that, you know, it is what it is. No different than hockey. I mean, when you put that headgear, there's going to be more collision. When you take that off, if you're a player, you're a little bit more apt to maybe do it. So I think it's the equipment's lighter. Everything's built for speed. You watch the NFL, half of them don't ever put their pads in, and then they get hurt. You know, it's a difficult thing to handle, but certainly something that we need to continue to get educated on, and we got to continue to do a good job coaching. And you know, I think a lot of it has to do with technical, you know, doing the right coaching as much as you can. And then and we also got to remember sometimes things just happen. I mean, they just happen no matter what you do. Yes.
How do you feel about sharing your stadium with the Vikings?
Well, you know, at first, you know, I'm not sure how that's going to work. You know, I've heard 1 year, 2 years, but I think we, you know, at our place sometimes, and everywhere I've been, you always try to find a way for an excuse why you shouldn't win or not win. I embrace it. I mean, why? We're in a situation. No different if we were doing something here with St. Cloud. The more our state cares about football, and the more it's played where it's at, all it does is benefit everybody. We just need to win. That helps, you know. I mean, because you know, you have a football. You can say, hey, let's have a football weekend, you know, and we need to market it that way. Don't market it as a negative thing. Plus, I got a lot, as soon as it happened, and I talked to the new AD, I had a whole list of things for the Vikings that can improve on. always look for things like that for an opportunity to get better, not an opportunity to make an excuse why not to win. So I figured out this much money on this amount of game, we could probably get this done. So then I share it with Dan, and he kind of pass it along, and then when I see the president, I just kind of nudge him a little bit on it. I think that we have to let you, I'd love to spend the rest of the afternoon, but I think everybody has to go to work, and you're probably tired of listening to me, but it's a great privilege to be here in your community. It's a great privilege to be here with the coaches, and certainly you, John, who I have a tremendous amount of respect through all these years. And you think about, anybody ought to be talking, you think about how many lives that guy's touched through the years. It's unbelievable, unbelievable. So thanks for what you do. I got a great deal of respect for you.
I'm going to do a couple of closing things, and then we're going to have a drawing for the various paraphernalia that they brought along, and we're going to finish a little bit different today without ringing the bell so loud. We're going to finish with the Minnesota Rouser, led by that machine and our own Len Carlson, who's going to come up and say it. So, he says he'll help lead it. First off, I want to say thank you, and I forgot to mention, I forget when you get used to working with other Rotarians, I forgot to introduce John Frobenius as Regent of the University of Minnesota. So those of you who don't know, John is a Regent, so my apology, but who recognize you that I should have done that. I want to say thank you to our Area 7 clubs, Granite, Mark, and Dan over there with the Great River, and the folks from Sartell for coming over and joining you today, and all the guests who came to visit. Appreciate that. A special shout out to my own guests, Al Beckel and Melissa Kolbjornsen back there. Hello to you guys, and glad to have you here. And remember, when you depart, if you are of this club, fill out the form and give it to Diane Kroska where you can volunteer, because if she has to come after you, she crouches at me. And so I don't want that. And those of you who are in the community at all and want to help with the Can-Am games, any of the club members, if your club wants to help take on a one race or another, be sure to see Sergeant Ellery over there and talk with them before you leave now. Our own Janelle Kendall, if you want, and ask questions, but we want you to be part of it. So those two things have to go. And John Bodette, who's on next week?
We're going to do Summertime by George, and we're going to do a thing on the Thailand visit that Drew had, and so it's going to be a good meeting.
That's next week. I'm not going to be here, so Drew's going to run in my absence. I get to go to Ireland and see my son. So that is all the business that we're going to do. I'm going to turn it now over to Chad Kuno, who is going to do the drawing. He's the alumni of director or whatever for the University of Minnesota. And are you ready? I'm ready. Ron, you're on. It's off to you. You're ready.
Thanks, Jim. All right, we got a few door prizes for you. Janelle Kendall. Janelle, where are you? Janelle? Come on up. Okay, next we have Jeff Fry, F-R-I-E. Jeff? Come on up. Okay, now for the hat. We have Jill Magnuson. I can't read Magnuson. All right. Here comes for the cap. All right. Now we got a coffee cup, well, container of some kind, liquid. Lynn Carlson. Lynn, where are you? There you go, Lynn. Then for the panoramic picture, we got James Hall. James? All right, for the autographed football by Coach Jerry Kill, Anita Smalley? Anita. All right, then last, we have 2 tickets to, which game is it? The Michigan game. All right, for the Little Brown Jug. Drew Holtgren. Drew? Hey, Drew. All right, now we're going to close with a Singing the Rouser, and courtesy of the University of Minnesota Marching Band. So, all stand, here we go. Maybe not. All right. Ready? Minnesota.